Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and with me is one of my good friends, Anchorman.
Hello.
That's right, guys. Both me and Anchorman, we have now finally come to the last/final Marvel/X-Men film from 20th Century Fox/Studios. Yes, this being the final one. And, well, as we all know, the last two X-Men films from Fox, they didn't turn out that good. And a lot of people, have cited Logan being the true finale. But I'll be completely honest. In my opinion, I didn't think that the last two X-Men films from Fox weren't that bad. And I know because, what I've had to say about Dark Phoenix, and along with Anchorman, when we reviewed that, if anybody wants to go check that out. Point being, overall, the last/final X-Men/Marvel film from Fox that me and Anchorman are reviewing is The New Mutants. Yes, The New Mutants. Again, this being the last one from Fox, where, them doing Marvel films, and most notably, X-Men. And this being the final one in the X-Men movie series. Yep. And again, it's a shame that this ended off poorly, this being the last one in the series. But, for me, the first things I have to say about The New Mutants, and having done a rewatch on it, I don't think it's that bad. Now, I understand that The New Mutants, it's not as good, and I don't know, would this be worse or not as bad as, say, the second to last one, Dark Phoenix? I'll leave that for you guys to decide, but I don't know. I mean, again, like what I said about Dark Phoenix and what I'm saying about The New Mutants, didn't hate it whatsoever. New Mutants, it was okay for me. I quite liked it. I understood exactly where the story, the movie itself, was going, and not that many characters in this film, and that's nice to see because, we don't have to have so many characters, even if it's one of those movies where, we can keep up with a good amount of characters. But for this one, yeah. And it was pretty cool that, this one X-Men film, centering on younger mutants, and the fact that they're isolated in this facility, and, when thinking that it's a hospital, but yeah, there's no way that it would be. I think that, knowing each of these characters, and when we see the antagonists at a certain point in this movie, yeah, not bad. And the interactions that these mutants have, and how slowly but surely they would come together, and they would take down what they're about to, witness and come face to face with. Just overall, I liked The New Mutants. I understand it's not the best, and yeah, this ended off the X-Men movie series poorly, but still, yeah. Alright, so Anchorman, we'll now come over to you. What are the first things you have to say about the final X-Men/Marvel film from 20th Century Fox, the final installment in the X-Men movie series, The New Mutants?
I think this is kind of sad that this is the last Fox X-Men movie until we got Deadpool and Wolverine, which is technically an MCU movie, but I couldn't really get into the New Mutants. I think it's cool that they explored more underrated characters, since there is a lot of lore when it comes to the New Mutants, but I didn't really feel that much when I was watching the New Mutants. But I do like the cast. It's a decent cast. But overall, I thought they could have done a better final Fox X-Men movie.
Yeah. So, you're saying you didn't hate it. You thought it was okay, you're almost on the same level as I am?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I really liked the movie. I just kind of thought it was okay.
Okay, that's...
Not really hate it. I just I know it's a strong word, but like, not really one of my favorites.
Okay, that's good, and yeah, that's understandable. And like I said, I understand and respect that, yeah, this didn't turn out that good, etc. But in my opinion, I thought it was okay. I liked it, but yeah. Alright, so, the first things that me and Anchorman had to say, with that out of the way, as always, for me, read the description / the story. 5 teenage mutants, Mirage, Wolfsbane, Cannonball, Sunspot, and Magic, I think if I'm pronouncing that right or wrong, undergo treatments at a secret institution that will cure them from their dangerous powers. Invited by Dr. Celia Reyes to share their stories, their memories soon turn into terrifying realities as they start to question why they're being held and who's trying to destroy them. Okay, so, getting into the film itself, and, yeah, well, first off, because, yeah, because first few facts I want to mention, like I said, this being the last one in the X-Men movie series, and, for Fox, the last Marvel film that they would do, at one point, the director of the New Mutants, Josh Boone, he was originally planning on doing a trilogy. This would have been the first installment, but because, Fox merging and soon becoming a part of the Disney family, yeah, any plans for future Marvel films from Fox, most notably X-Men, were canceled entirely, so it would have been nice where this would have gone, and who knows, maybe the next 2 installments might have turned out maybe good. Well, I mean, who knows, but yeah. And besides, like, these batch of 5 teenage mutant characters, they were pretty interesting. It would have been nice, but okay, anyways. So, like, the way that the film opens, and which, by the way, did I forget to mention that this would be the first and last Marvel / X-Men film to have the new banner / logo, 20th Century Studios. Let that sink in. Yeah, but after that, and the associated with Marvel pops up, then we get an opening quote, bit of narration. Inside every person, there are 2 bears, forever locked in combat for your soul. One bear is all things good, compassion, love, trust. The other is all things evil, fear, shame, and self-destruction. Yeah. And, well, then, because, we then, of course, get the introduction of one of our main characters, and that, of course, being Dani. And her mutant hero name that she goes by is Mirage. And yeah, we get our introduction of her and Dani, her real name being played by Blue Hunt. She wakes up to, like, literally, the way the movie opens, like, all hell breaks loose. Destruction is happening outside of her and her dad's home, and Dani's father rushing in to get her, and just them making their way outside, and it's winter time. So much is happening, and we don't see exactly what's causing this mayhem to erupt. And even when their house gets destroyed, and when at one point they make their way into the woods, Dani's father, whom being played by Adam Beach, hides her in a tree and needs to help the others. But unfortunately, he gets killed right away. Just golly, for her to wake up to all that happens and to lose her father, yeah. And then she starts to run away when it seems like, yeah, something is approaching her. We don't know exactly what it is. And at one point, she's knocked out. And the next time she wakes up, she finds herself in a hospital, or so it is. Even when at one point seeing a mysterious, figure in the air ducts, and, well, she's, handcuffed to a hospital bed and, trying to get out, and, well, someone stepping in to inform her what all has happened, and basically like a tornado apparently occurred, and whom is there to greet her and, to get her to explain, like, what's happened is Dr. Celia Reyes, being played by Alice Braga. Yeah. Unfortunately, Danny, she now finds herself in this institution where, when it's discovered, and I think, when she learns that she is a mutant, and and where she's at is the Millbury Hospital, and it's a facility where, Dr. Celia, I'm mostly gonna call her by her first name, she trains the young mutants, looks after them and such, and helps them to, get them to answer some questions and to, make sure if they're safe and in no danger to themselves, and then at one point they will be set free. Okay, so we'll now come to you, Anchorman. What are the first things you have to say about, like, the opening to the film and where I started and where I stopped?
All right. Like, it seems like an easy way to set up the characters, where she starts off getting chased, and then she wakes up in the asylum, and that's like an okay introduction so far, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that kind of reminds me of what if like Charles Xavier was evil or something. Later, some doctor was bad or something.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. I mean, granted, we already have Charles Xavier's sister, who's evil, so, and whom we would see in Deadpool and Wolverine, but that's another story. Anything else to point out before I continue?
I don't think so.
Alright, so, continuing on, and the introduction to our other 4 Teenage Mutant characters, I swear, it's like, you gotta, like, it's like, you're like, this close. I was too, like, Teenage Mutant, and then Ninja, but no, of course, like, it's just the mutants. Our 4 other Teenage Mutants, there's Sam Guthrie, if I'm even getting his last name right, I might be butchering it, but him being played by Charlie Heaton, best known, of course, for Stranger Things, duh. And there's also Sunspot being played by Henry Zaga, and and his actual name, Sunspot, Roberto, da Costa, and Elena Rasputin, I'm gonna mainly, call her Rasputin, being played by the one and only talented Anya Taylor-Joy. Now, I think it's great to see that with these, and can't forget to mention her too, the 4th and final one, Renee Sinclair, being played by Maisie Williams. So, as I was saying, it's great to see that these great talents, especially, from Charlie, Anya, and Maisie, nice to see them doing something Marvel. And I think that, they fit quite well in this Marvel film, and them playing the mutant characters and such, one of the first times we see them is, rehab and, therapy and such, and, we get each of them. We get to know some of their backgrounds / backstories / their origins. Like, Sinclair, Maisie Williams, a couple of years ago, because she, was running in the woods, and at one point she met with this, Reverend named Reverend Craig, asking the Reverend to help, get out what's in her, and the Reverend asked her to change, which she did, and what happened next was the Reverend just, beat her up, and just, golly, because that intense Reverend, and just, the devil inside of you, just, good lord. For Sam, He, he used to be by his father's side in the mining tunnels, but something happened, and we learned later on that unfortunately, Sam lost his father, and obviously because of what comes from him, his mutant powers. And as for, Roberto, well, one thing, what we learn very later on, what his side of the story is, his background and such. But yeah, but we'll come back to you, Anchorman. Like, what are the first things you have to say about, the four other teenage mutants in this film?
Like I said earlier, it's kind of a decent cast. I do like Anya Taylor-Joy in this movie. I feel like she was probably the highlight for me in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
I do like Charlie. I don't know how to say his name.
It's Charlie Heaton, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I do like his role in it. I do like him in Stranger Things.
And as for, Roberto and Sinclair?
They were cool. They're all right. I do like Sunspot because he was in X-Men 97.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Nice.
He's like the newer character.
Right. And also, to point this out, the accents that are given to their characters, I'm pretty sure, this obviously comes from the comics, where they come from, because, Sam, obviously, coming from Texas, I presume, and Sinclair, I mean, could you tell, too, Anchorman, like, Irish or Scottish?
Probably Scottish.
Yeah, more than likely. And, for Rasputin, could you make out, like, what accent Rasputin has?
I'm not sure. It's probably some Irish accent.
Maybe, but at one point, and when using her powers, she spoke in Latin, so...
Probably.
Because I even, watching the movie and having the subtitles on it shows Latin, so yeah, her speaking in Latin at one point when using her powers, but... Also, more on Rasputin because, I agree, and I would say so. Definitely Anya Taylor-Joy, because how much of a great and talented actress she is. Yeah, I think she was probably one of the really good things to come from the New Mutants. And Rasputin was an interesting character, and if anybody, diehard X-Men fans and, reading any of the comics that feature these characters, well... One most notable thing from Rasputin is, she has a purple puppet pterodactyl, and naming it Lockheed. Lockheed, it interacts sometimes, and sometimes speaks for Rasputin. And, when thinking of like a pterodactyl, I can't help but think of, in the X-Men comics, it's not just Lockheed, but there was also Sauron. If anybody remembers and knows about Sauron, that's another pterodactyl character that's in the X-Men comics, a villain, by the way. But anyways, which by the way, Sauron making an appearance in one X-Men comic in Logan, if anybody knows what I'm talking about. But anyways, so anything to say on Rasputin's purple pterodactyl puppet Lockheed, Anchorman?
It kind of reminded me of my favorite X-Men, Kitty Pryde, how she has like a dragon for a pet.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good example. But yeah, because it's interesting and weird at first, but, obviously Lockheed has a strong connection with Rasputin, even when she was a little girl, so yeah. But yeah, and, because, Danny, this is her start being in this hospital, and, the other four teenage mutants, they seem to like her at first, but not Rasputin. Yeah, she gives the new girl a hard time. And we also learn, and because Danny, she doesn't know what her powers are. And even when at one point she tries to make a break for it, because when Dr. Celia, orders / asks, I should say, Rasputin to give Danny the tour of the place, and that's what she does. Like the main entrance of the building. Also, there's a chapel, and even a few other places in this location that she points out. And even when Danny notices that the gates are open, they're wide open, and there's nothing there to stop them from escaping. And yeah, Danny attempting to leave, but there's a force field. She's unable to get out because there's a force field. Also, we happen to see this wolf passing by Danny and spying on Danny some. And then at one point, Danny tries to commit suicide, going to a clock tower, breaking part of it, and, stepping outside. And, well, thankfully, Sinclair is there to, convince her not to do this. And, well, Sinclair, she, her believing in Christ and such, and, pointing out to Danny that belief that when committing suicide, you go to hell and so on. And just overall, Sinclair convincing her that, it's not necessary for her to end her life and, see what can happen next. But yeah. And this was just the beginning of, a good relationship for Sinclair and Danny. Also, some of the other mutants, like, the powers we get to see them have, like Sam, well, his powers, like, able to fly and, like, almost like a rocket, boosting him and such, and, he's taking some practice, not to mention he's got a broken arm, and doesn't know how to land, him trying to work on that. And to name some of their other powers, the other mutants, their powers, like, Rasputin's powers, if you want to take it from here, Anchorman, because do you know how to describe Rasputin's powers?
I think she's able to, like, open portals, and she has, like, a sword.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, like a metal arm and able to wield a sword from that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, go ahead.
Like her eyes glow, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, that too. And also for Roberto, his powers, and if it's not obvious by his mutant hero name, Sunspot, well, he happens to able to, turn himself into flames. Almost similar to Human Torch, but slightly different. There is a difference between, like, say, the fire powers between Sunspot and Human Torch from Fantastic Four. So, yeah. But anyways, but to speed things up some, because, yeah, the time that these mutants, and most notably the Four, getting to know Danny some more, and that especially goes for Sinclair, and, with Danny, like, even, like, say, at one point, when taking a shower, thankfully, there's really no security cameras watching them while taking a shower, and Danny notices a mark on one of Sinclair's shoulders. It's a W, and Sinclair doesn't really want to talk about it, and that's not, and speaking of the security cameras, because, yeah, and even when they go into their rooms, yeah, there are security cameras there, and able to monitor and scan their bodies, and even, most notably, Danny, because, the 4 other mutants, each of them, at times, a lot of times, having bad dreams and nightmares, and little do they know, and that goes for us, the audience, at first, that, well, this might have to do something with Danny causing this. Even when Danny starts to have nightmares too, recapping on what happened at the start of this movie, and the security cameras scanning that, yeah, scanning her body, and yeah, because of her powers, it's getting out of hand, and so on, just, yeah. And what happens to the other mutants, and when each of them, they experience bad dreams, and, like, sometimes physically being there, yeah, it's intense. Creepy also. And we'll come back to you, Anchorman, like, what do you got to say this time and where I'm at?
I think their powers are unique. That's probably the one thing I can give about this movie. I do like how they all have different unique powers than what we usually see in the movies. I mean, they are similar to probably the other X-Men, but I like how they like somewhat it explores them trying to learn and where they came from and stuff, and how they want to use them and how they're afraid to use it as well.
And anything to say, like, the first time we see that these mutants, they have bad dreams / nightmares. What do you have to say on that first?
It probably fits the setting of this movie.
Of course. Yep. And okay, so all right, so continuing on, like, moments where they would have some times to themselves where, the doctor is not in the room and she's probably, mostly sleeping. Well, because, like, at one point, all of them going to the attic and having some time alone, even when, like, they use a lie detector and, like, truth or dare, and we learn more about them. And even most notably, because, for both Sam and Danny, they each have an item, a special, very personal item that they still carry. Like, Sam carrying a piece of, a mining rock because, his father working in the mines and so on, and what he explains about that. And as for Danny, well, a necklace that has a carving of a bear, and that whole talk that Danny gives them about, the bear and such, and even, like, as I read the opening quote, that too, and bear protecting and so on, just, and little do they know that there is a security camera in the attic, but, Dr. Celia doesn't question them about it, just, keeps it quiet, and also, there was a nice little, nod to X-Men, because another time that they spend some time to themselves, and when the doctor's not in the room, and even when at one point Rasputin spiced up her tea or something, put something in her tea to conquer out, and them just having a fun time dancing and so on. And when at one point they mention the X-Men, a little mention to Charles Xavier, and which Roberto, he's in a wheelchair at one point imitating Charles Xavier, and, them talking about what it would be like to be an X-Men and so on. Like, what do you think on that, Anchorman? Because the nod to the X-Men and other stuff that I talked about so far.
I do like the nod to the X-Men. It's nice to see other groups of mutants are able to acknowledge the characters, and it kind of connects to the movies, even though this movie is, like, barely connects to the movie. And honestly, it could be considered something, even though it is part of the X-Men movies. But, I do like that they talk about Charles Xavier. It's nice to see his teachings are still remembered.
Right. And, that's another thing. The movie doesn't really establish, like, when this takes place. So, I don't know. But at least we know that it is canon to the X-Men films. Of course, including the Deadpool films, that too. But, anyways.
I'd just like to say...
go ahead.
When I saw the Nostalgia Critics review on this, when he did Disney-cember on this movie, he kind of brought up how they show footage from Logan. So I'm going to guess this movie maybe takes place before Logan.
Maybe, but it's hard to tell, really, because, and, we'll mention that again later, but, because when, archival clips from Logan, the mutant children, until we talk more about that later, but, and anything to say on the sequence where they're in the attic and using the lie detector? Do you have anything to say on that?
It was cool.
And the whole thing, like, as I especially pointed out, from each Sam and Danny, the items that they personally still hold on to, like, anything on that as well?
I like the connections with the bear. How they use the bear later in it, when we do see it.
Right. Oh, yeah, because until we get there. Oh, yeah. And, I actually completely forgot about that when doing a rewatch, because, yeah, but until we get there. Anyways, so, yeah, the more time that they spent with themselves and having a good time, even when at one point, and to speed things up some, because, yeah, a moment where Sinclair has Danny follow her, going through the air ducts, and surprisingly, Sinclair knowing her way through the air vents / ducts and, well, finding a way to get out of the building. And when at one point, they make their way to a nearby cemetery, and it's thunder. There's a thunderstorm happening, and well, because of the force field, the raindrops hitting the force field, and yeah, orange effects, yeah, and a nice moment between Sinclair and Danny and the conversations that they have, and yeah, and Danny, because Sinclair, each of them, saying to each other, and Danny, saying to Sinclair that, Sinclair, someone who, not actually being there physically, but she is, how they put at it, and, Danny, telling Sinclair that, she's right there in front of her, and just, someone that she envisioned, and turns out she's real, how they put at it, and, I should have seen it coming, and even when my dad and I, because we did see this in theaters, where, yeah, a relationship begins, a romantic relationship begins between Sinclair and Danny. What did you think on that, Anchorman, the lesbian relationship in this?
It's good. It was a highlight of the movie. It would probably piss off the outrage YouTubers, but I ignore those people. But it's nice they're being inclusive in this movie.
Right. And when at one point, there's a moment between Rasputin and Sunspot, Sunspot hears some singing in the pool room, and he then joins, and, when we see them again, they hit it off as well. Now a relationship begins between both of them, and anything to say on that as well?
I do like the pool scene. It was cool seeing them go into some creepy, it's part of the creepy asylum, and there's just a giant pool there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and, even when at one point, Roberto unable and is afraid to touch Rasputin, because what we learned from Roberto, aka Sunspot, his background, he unfortunately accidentally burned his girlfriend alive when touching her and so on. And Rasputin being understandable and concerned for him, and assuring Roberto that, he won't burn her. And, well, even when at one point she disappears, because with the powers that she has the ability to vanish. But then at one point, we see a creepy hand emerge out of the pool, touching Roberto, and this is obviously one of the nightmares that he's had coming to life right in front of him. And yeah, apparently it's the, burning corpse of his girlfriend, and the name of his girlfriend is brought up, and I'll remember to put a text, of that. But anyways, this freaks him out, and even, causing some fire to, rise in the pool room. The fire alarm goes off. This gets the attention of everyone from, Sinclair and Danny, and this wakes up the doctor. They attend to see what's happening, and, well, we see that Roberto's on fire, and, and Dr. Celia pushing him back in the water, getting him to be unburned, and causing half of the water to sink down, from that, I presume, but, And Roberto thinks that this was, Rasputin's doing, but no, it wasn't, and at one point, Roberto, he's had enough, and tries to, get out of the place, even grabbing Celia's phone, was going to attempt to call the cops, but nothing's working, and yeah, Celia makes it clear to them that they're not getting out of the place. Even when, once again, Rasputin being, pardon my French, but it's true, being a bitch towards Danny, and pointing to Danny that it's her doing. And even when Dr. Celia Reyes, she slowly but surely learns that, something about Danny, far beyond different than the other 4 mutants in the hospital, and with her powers and what they're like, just, yeah. But we'll now come back to you, Anchorman, because what do you have to say, as of now?
Rasputin's character is kind of meant to be a jerk in this movie.
At first, yeah. Yeah, and at first she is, but and anything else to point out?
I don't think so.
Well, what about, the whole thing where Roberto, seeing his, burned flesh girlfriend, and when he freaks out, and then when he freaks out more and attempts to, try to get out. Anything on that as well?
I don't know, it kind of reminds me of, Rogue's origin in X-Men, where she can't touch people because she absorbs people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good comparison, yeah. Why didn't I think of that? But, yeah. And anything on, say, Danny, and how slowly but surely, and that especially goes for the Doctor, learning about Danny's power, and, like I said, far beyond different, and the power of this than the other mutants. What say on that?
Is it, it makes them unique?
Yeah, but, little does Danny know, and the others, what the Doctor's gonna do to her specifically. The tests that Danny goes through, needle shots, whatever, just, yeah. Also, to go ahead and mention more about, the nightmares / bad dreams that the 5 mutants have, because for Rasputin, because, what she dreams of, and it counters a couple of times, and even when she was a little girl. And by the way, because the younger version of Rasputin being played by Colby Gannett, and what she dreams of a couple of times in this movie, and when we would see it physically, and even when, we fully see it, and we see it in action, the Smiling Man, and the body performance of the Smiling Man. And obviously, there were some shots in this movie where the Smiling Man was CG, but the body performance for Smiling Man, being played by Dustin Keithhammer, if I'm saying the last name right. I might be butchering it, but again, you know me sometimes. And I completely forgot that the voice of Smiling Man is Marilyn Manson. That's pretty interesting. But, I don't know, because I think I need to watch that again with Smiling Man, because I think I kind of missed the voice performance of Marilyn Manson as the Smiling Man. But okay, but we'll turn to you, Anchorman. What do you have to say on the Smiling Man now that I've brought him up?
It reminds me of that urban legend of that fan creation called Slender Man. Kind of look like that.
And I was gonna say that too, because I remember, as I recall, my dad, he felt the same way too, that Smiling Man almost reminds him of Slender Man. So, he kind of does, I won't deny it. But obviously, despite him looking almost similar to Slender Man, being completely different and such, not to mention because we see him at first with a mask, a smiling white face mask, but when taking it off, a creepy mouth with scary teeth and with no eyes, just, terrifying. And I think that, because there is some horror elements almost in the New Mutants, and that especially goes for Smiling Man. And I think that, that was done pretty well. But anyways, to speed things up still, because, we already talked about the Smiling Man, and, because, still, the further tests that, Danny has, and the nightmares that they still have, even when, because there is a moment, a sequence where, yeah, something terrible happens to Sinclair, where when she takes a shower, she hears some rustling in the bathroom stalls, etc. It's not Danny or anybody else. Out of nowhere, she comes face to face with the, illusion, I guess you can say. Yeah, well, again, this comes from her nightmares / bad dreams. Reverend Craig. Yeah. Also, not to mention, there were a few times where Sinclair did go to the chapel, asking the Lord, to forgive her for her sins and such, and when, even a couple of times her saying that demons cannot step foot in the church, etc. And, hearing the voice of Reverend Craig, and when we physically see him, and about to burn her, and he does so, and her horrifying scream that she lets out, and everybody rushing to see what the commotion is, and it actually happened because another burned mark on Sinclair. And once again, fingers are pointed at Danny, mainly from Rasputin. And Rasputin's, telling Danny that, and knowing that she still has no idea what her powers are. And by proving so, getting into a girl fight, I guess you can say, with Danny, and just, strangling her, and the doctor stopping this madness, injecting Rasputin to, get her to calm down, and just, crazy. But we'll now turn over to you, Anchorman, because with what I've talked about, what do you have to say on this?
It felt like the shower scene was kind of just like a horror movie, which is kind of works for a movie like this. The horror aspect.
And the whole thing on Reverend Craig burning her, and when again, Danny's pointed at, most notably from Rasputin, and that fight they get into, anything on that as well?
It was definitely an intense fight for sure for the whole movie. Kind of reminds me of what you'd see in most teen dramas of characters fighting.
Oh yeah. That's true, but and because how far we've come into the film, and by that point, because things getting out of hand, even when, Danny, coming to forgive, I would say, to Rasputin, and even when Rasputin, she dropped and left behind her purple puppet pterodactyl, Lockheed, and, very sweet and kind of Danny to return it to her, and the talk that they have, and as I recall, Rasputin sharing, her background and such, the talk that her and Danny have, and it seems that right there, they start to patch things up some, just about, but anyways, and continuing on, because, once again, Danny is about to do some tests, and, Danny having a talk with Sinclair at one point, and, the visions that Danny is seeing, and the mention of a place to go to specifically, and that's the place they can go to when eventually they finally get out of the hospital. And, when the time comes for, Danny to have tests done, little does Danny, Sinclair, and the others know what the doctor's specifically going to do. Because then, to speed things up still, because, just to get to the point where, the doctor has, Danny, tied up and, placing, a gas mask or something over her, and, the powers that Danny has, far beyond, powerful and different compared to the other, 4 mutants in the hospital, and, the doctor planning to put Danny down, and when she wails in panic, and even, Sinclair at one point, she can hear this, because Sinclair's mutant powers, if I didn't bring this up already, can turn into a wolf. And that explains why, at times, we saw this wolf roaming around. It's her. So her turning into a wolf and, hearing like a wolf, can hear far away and able to hear the screams that are wailed from Danny. And when Sinclair tries to go and, rescue poor Danny. She tries to, but yeah, unfortunately, Celia beats her by injecting her. But yeah, Celia, she does get critically wounded by Sinclair when, like, scratching her and such. Just, oh yeah, severely almost wounded. Yeah, limping and such. Just, yeah. And the other mutants and what happens with them. Like, a moment where, Sam, he encounters, that goes for the three of them. Each of them encountering the Smiling Man. Because, like, at one point, Sunspot, Roberto, he was working in the kitchen, and when coming face-to-face with the Smiling Man, and for Rasputin and Sam being with her, well, they get to witness and see a younger version of Rasputin almost about to get attacked by Smiling Man, but, and when Rasputin yells out, "Leave her alone, you pig," and Sam convincing Rasputin that it's not real, it's an illusion and stuff like that, like, she's thinking of this, and but then at one point they make a run for it, and, and when they tried to take on the Smiling Man, but they're having no luck at first. And there was a moment for Sam when he experiences a nightmare / a bad dream, and we physically see it because, when seeing Sam in the mining tunnels with his father, and we see Sam's father being played by Thomas Key, and how, it just ended badly, and Sam was the cause of his father's death. Not intentionally, of course. It was an accident. He didn't mean to kill his father, but yeah. Okay, Anchorman, we'll now come back to you, because where I'm up to now and what I've said, what do you have to say this time?
I do like those, like, bear powers. She's able to run out the wolf powers, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
I do like those kinds of powers. The transform.
Yeah, and that whole thing where, the Doctor was going to put down Danny, and because Danny being too powerful and strong. Like, anything to say on that?
That just shows that she's an evil doctor, probably, because she's willing to just treat all of them like they're just patients, like they're just experiments or something.
Right. But more than that, because we find out a little later what specifically and just, what she's been attempting to do with them. But on Danny's powers, because we do learn, and to go ahead and mention this, she's causing these bad dreams / nightmares even for herself, what she witnesses. How would we best describe her powers, what she's able to do?
Which one?
Danny.
I forget. Doesn't...
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think mainly because, able to control what she visions and dreams of, and that especially goes for what's shown at the end, the climax of the film, The Bear, but and in connection with that necklace that she was wearing, so
she uses arrows in the comics.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, not in this. Not Danny doesn't in the New Mutants, apparently, but
It's very different.
Yeah, that's true. But, anyways. And anything to say on when the others, they encounter the Smiling Man?
When we see the Smiling Man up close, he just looks so creepy.
Mm-hmm. And when, again, as I said, they encounter Smiling Man, and when they try to attempt to take down the Smiling Man?
It's quite wild.
Yeah, it is. And even when, the Doctor gets to encounter / see the Smiling Man herself, and she just gets out of there, leaving them to defend themselves to take on the Smiling Man. Eventually, they do. And that especially goes for Rasputin. She's finally able to, get a hold of herself and, get a grip of herself and take on the Smiling Mans that had haunted her nightmares and so on, using, the mechanical metal, hand and wielding a sword and the powers that she has. It's really cool, And even Sunspot, when he came in and saw all this happening, he thought it was hot. So, but anyways, thankfully, because Sinclair, she does help out Danny, and when they all come together, figuring out and realize, what all is going down, and even when they finally attempt to try to break out, and what they learned from Reyes. Well, and to go ahead and mention this, she's basically using all 5 of them. Like, and as I read in the description of the hospital, yeah, because, yeah, Dr. Reyes training the young mutants so that they can serve as assassins. She's wanting to make them as killers, basically. And that's, of course, not good. And when, even a mention at one point where, you know, because they would be transferred to, like a, you know, goods facility or something, which being the, you know, ESSEX Corporation. Yeah, but bad and so on, just, yeah. And even when they try to go and confront and take down the Doctor, because, well, the Doctor being a mutant as well, because, you know, her powers able to make force fields, and that explains the big dome outside of the hospital. But yeah, of course it was never a hospital in the first place once we learn all that happens. And yeah, when they try to confront her, but at one point they're no match for her, because, you know, her making force fields and just, like, you know, almost squashing them, even causing Danny to go to sleep and, well, be knocked out. But luckily, Danny finds a way to take down the Doctor once and for all, summoning what comes from Danny's nightmares / bad dreams, the Bear. We see the Bear emerge, and the Bear, because, yeah, he's called the Demon Bear. He's referred to as the Demon Bear, and a description on the Demon Bear: a powerful and terrifying creature that hunts the young mutants, particularly Danny, due to his connection to Magic's fears. Yeah, so her fears being the bear, pretty much. And yeah, so when the Demon Bear is summoned, well, the Demon Bear finishes off the Doctor just like that. And yep, that's the end for the Doctor, and thankfully, well, the dome is no more. So that was one nice thing to come from the Demon Bear, but the Demon Bear is not done there, because now going after the new mutants, mainly Danny. But we'll turn over to you once again, Anchorman, because where I'm up to and what I talked about, just, yeah, anything you've got to say this time?
The Doctor's powers was no surprise, and, like, her death kind of just comes and goes for me. And I do like the scene with the bear. I like how the CGI looks super cool on it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I thought that was pretty cool too, and that whole thing where they discover and learn that the Doctor is really using and going and trying to turn them into killing machines. Like, anything on that?
It kind of just a plot twist that comes. You kind of just see it coming, because, like, it's definitely shown throughout this whole movie. You could kind of just see it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so, yeah, we are getting up to the climax, and can't forget to mention this because it is brought up, most notably from Rasputin, where, you know, the different dimension that she would go to, and, well, coming from her subconsciousness, that being called limbo, and, it's a hellish dimension created by her from her subconscious, where her and Lockheed transported whenever something bad was going to happen. Because, yeah, we talked about, like, do you have anything to say in, because, yeah, the name Limbo, because the place that's created by her subconscious, anything on that, Anchorman?
Is it like a dream world?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Mm-hmm. But, and speaking of Lockheed, because we do finally see Lockheed in action, coming alive and being linked with Rasputin, of course, and being powerful. But yeah, and even when they attempt to take on the Demon Bear, because yeah, they're making a run for it. Danny, she's still unconscious, and you know they're trying to wake her up. Well, at one point, Rasputin takes it upon herself to take on the Demon Bear. She does well at first, but at a certain point, and when all of the main characters, they make their way to the chapel, They're having no luck trying to take on the Demon Bear from Rasputin, and even when Sam tried to step in, he had no luck, and even when Roberto he finally stepped in because he was hiding at one point, but thanks to the encouragement from some of them to take on the Demon Bear, he does so, but yeah, ultimately he too is not able to defeat the Demon Bear. And the only one out of all of them, even after Sinclair tries to take on the Demon Bear, Danny's the only one to do so. Because her being linked to the Demon Bear, and the Demon Bear coming from her nightmares/dreams. But Danny is not sure about this, even when Sinclair is trying to call out to Danny. And when seeing Danny in her dream world, and yeah, she's afraid and not able to. But with the help from her dad, when we see her dad once again in her dreams, encouraging her and telling her that, she's tough, she's bigger, yeah. That's when Danley finally regains consciousness, and when confronting the Demon Bear, and even when the Demon Bear is this close to eating Sinclair alive, Danny tells the Demon Bear, stop, no more, getting the Demon Bear to pull itself together and to calm down, and even taking off the bear necklace and passing it on to the Demon Bear, and yeah, sure enough, overall, the Demon Bear has vanished, it's gone, and all the nightmares and everything that was happening is done for. Yeah, Danny now having the ability to control her powers, yeah, just great to see. We'll turn back to you, Anchorman, because anything on the whole climax when they're trying to take on the Demon Bear, and when trying to reach out to Danny, and when her dad steps in, and when Danny takes on the Demon Bear, just, yeah, overall, what do you have to say?
The climax with the bear was alright. Like, I don't know, it just looks like an intense final battle for the characters.
Yeah. And when Danny, stepping in finally, able to stop the Demon Bear and regain control of her powers, anything on that as well?
That was good.
Okay, so after that, the ending to the movie / the epilogue, even when Sam at one point, he throws something way into the air and, to make sure if the giant dome is no more, and now that the doctor's gone, and even this was mentioned, where apparently there's a nearby town 20 miles away, and, they're not really sure at first, but it's worth a shot, and all of them finding out together. And also, them recovering some personal items of theirs, most notably photos that were from their case files, they get that, and, new adventures await for our 5 main new mutants. Yep. And the last bit of dialogue that we get from Danny, another narration, and, a different description on, what was said at the start, on the 2 bears and such. Yeah. Them walking off, and, again, what new adventures lie for them. Just, yeah. That was a pretty good, nice ending for those characters, how the movie ended. I mean, what say you, Anchorman, the ending to the movie?
Well, it was a fine end to the movie. It's just wild that this is the last X-Men movie. I didn't expect it to end like that.
Yeah, me neither. And like I said, not a fitting way, and, disappointing way for the X-Men series to end from 20th Century Fox. From Dark Phoenix and the New Mutants being the last 2, but still, But, yeah, overall, the New Mutants, it is what it is. But for me, personally, I quite liked it. I didn't think it was that bad. I didn't hate it, and yeah, as you said, Anchorman, hate being a strong word, even for how we feel towards a movie. And for me, yeah, because movies like The New Mutants, I don't see anything that bad about them. Yeah, I thought what The New Mutants had to offer, with the story, the cast of characters, great talents, and yeah, I think they all did really good in this. And to name some of the other cast members to The New Mutants, a few that I didn't mention, Frozen Chiani, because Danny is an Indian, and that's the Indian that she is, being played by Jacinto Vega Spirit Wolf, okay? And the wolf form of Sinclair being played by Chuck. And there were 3 coal miners who were uncredited. They were played by Jeffrey Gorzanin, if I'm getting that last name right. Again, you know me sometimes. Mickey Gilmore and Max Shotchet. Yeah. But yeah, just to name some of the other remaining cast members, yeah. Again, from the story, the cast of characters, great performances, great talents in this film, from, most notably Maisie Williams, Anya Taylor-Joy, Charlie Heaton, and, Alice Baraka, Blue Hunt, and Henry Zaga, and all the others. They were great. The music and the score, pretty good, of course, and the visual CG effects, some horror elements to this, some unexpected moments here and there, good chemistry from these characters and how the movie proceeds on with that, some relationships that happen, the climax, and, and with them encountering Smiling Man, the Demon Bear, and, the other antagonists of this film, the Doctor, overall, the New Mutants, like I said, it is what it is. It may not be the best, and not the best way to, wrap up the X-Men movie series from Fox, but yeah, it's just one of those things. Okay, now we'll turn over to you, Anchorman. Your final thoughts, and last things to say on the New Mutants.
It's an alright movie for me. It's not really a movie I really want to watch when I think of the X-Men. I think it has a decent cast list, and it does explore some of the lesser-known X-Men characters with some good visuals overall. But yeah, it was an alright movie for me.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I mentioned their names. Reverend Craig being played by Happy Anderson, and Sam's father being played by Thomas Key. Maybe I did, but just to be sure, But yeah, what me and Anchorman had to say about the New Mutants, and again, to clarify, you thought that this was okay? You liked it some?
It was just alright for me.
Okay, yeah. And the same goes for me, but yeah. But again, I didn't think it was that bad. I quite liked it. And with what I've had to say, you heard, but yeah. And also, to go ahead and mention this, how did it felt for you, Anchorman? We'll start with you. How did it felt for you that, yeah, with the New Mutants being the last X-Men film in the X-Men series from Fox, how did that felt to you? Because, yeah, this was coming to an end. No more X-Men films from 20th Century Fox/Studios.
It's a shame that this was the last one, since they probably wanted to do more, but I guess they needed to end it eventually. And it was great seeing, I guess, Deadpool and Wolverine be the finale to the Fox Marvel stuff.
Right. Well, there you go. Yeah, that's a good way to stop it there, but yeah. And as I mentioned, Josh Boone, he originally was planning for this to be a trilogy, The New Mutants, but as I said, that never happened, and yeah, so... And as for me, well, of course, for all of us, it was sad, because for a lot of us, having grown up with these batch of Marvel films from Fox, most notably X-Men, and keep in mind, not only did 20th Century Fox/Studios do the X-Men films, they did other Marvel materials. They did Fantastic Four, they did Daredevil, Elektra, and a few others, but mostly... they did X-Men. And I do remember seeing this where, I think I did see this on YouTube, some of the cast members, like, say, Patrick Stewart, Hugh Jackman, Halle Berry, they were thanking the fans, for this long journey, with these X-Men movies, and that was great to see, yeah. But, yeah, overall, it was sad that, with the New Mutants being the last one, again, not a great way to end off the X-Men movie series, but overall, it was sad, but yeah. And okay, so with that out of the way, mentioning that, because now, how we rate the New Mutants. We'll start with you, Anchorman. How do you rate the New Mutants?
I'd probably just give it a 5 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, that sounds about right, yeah. And as for me... Oh boy. Well, as I've said before, I see this still being good. I'm giving The New Mutants 6 out of 10 stars. Yes, from me, 6 out of 10 stars for The New Mutants. And Anchorman, yeah, giving it a 5. 5 out of 5? 5 out of 10?
5 out of 10.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, I almost forgot. Yep, so 5 out of 10 from Anchorman, and for me, 6 out of 10. So, yeah. You've heard what we said about how we feel about The New Mutants. You know, we like it some. You know, and for me, especially, I didn't think it was that bad. You know, all right. So, what about you guys? What did you think of The New Mutants itself? Any of you that got to see this in theaters? Did some of you, like me and Anchorman, thought it was okay for what it was? You know, you liked it some. Who were some of your favorite characters in The New Mutants? Your favorite moments? Just, you know, anything, everything that happens in The New Mutants. Stuff that you didn't expect. And were you getting into some certain stuff, like the climax and everything? Just, yeah. Did you get some good laughs and good chuckles? You know, the emotional moments that happen, they were good too. Yeah, and of course, it never fails from anything Marvel to deliver some good, humorous, and emotional moments. Definitely. And yeah, and also, were you guys sad as well that, yeah, even though that The New Mutants, this being the last one, not a great way to end off the X-Men movie series, still, like, it was sad for you as well, wasn't it? That, yeah, marked the end of an era, you know, the X-Men / Marvel films from 20th Century Fox. Yeah, but overall, what do you think of The New Mutants itself, and with what me and Anchorman had to say about it, our review, and yeah, what did you think of our review? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. And so, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. We hope you guys enjoyed our review of the final installment of the X-Men movie series from 20th Century Fox / Studios, The New Mutants. More review videos are coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward. And we will see you guys in the next video / review. And Anchorman, thanks so much for, you know, being a part of this and, you know, reviewing the final installment of the X-Men movie series and, you know, the Marvel films from 20th Century Fox / Studios.
Thank you for having me on.
Anytime, bro, anytime. Okay, and also, stay tuned later tonight because the next Marvel film, just gonna be me, that I'll be reviewing, this time straight from the MCU. Well, to best describe it, it's the return of Ant-Man and the Wasp, and them finding themselves in, like, you know, quantum mania and such. Yeah, you know what it is. I gave it away. Just, yeah, isn't it not obvious? And by saying their names, just, yeah, again, stay tuned for that. And any last words, Anchorman? Say goodbye.
Bye.
Okay, he says that for me. Again, thank you very much for watching. Take care. And until me and Anchorman review another Marvel film, show, whatever, you know, peace out. X-Men, unite.